Five, four, three, two, one.
All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments Silicon Reviews. This week we have three of them. Bit of a programming note before we get started. Due to some accidental clicking of the wrong button, Wednesday's show got lost, as in it got deleted and before it got backed up. So that's gone, and we can't get it back. We apologize for any inconveniences it caused, but we don't have local backups going right now due to various reasons. So that may happen again in the future. You know, just gonna put a heads up uh, in this space, and we'll mention again, next Wednesday. Anyway, trudging along forward, we've got three games this week. Starting off with Pass Cure. Okay, so there's no easy way to say this, so I'll come out and with the long and short of it, this game is absolutely fucking terrible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, this game has already kind of built up a reputation for being fucking terrible. Like,
It's trying to be a combination of like survival horror suspense stuff and then like bullet time shooting stuff, and it doesn't do either of them very well.
yeah. So, well, there's more to this story because there's been drama behind that. The developers over at Phantom 8 Studios, they haven't been taking kindly to the critiques. Rather, the words "full bore Twitter meltdown" come to mind because that happened a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's never fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, so if they come to us about, the fact that we're going to, well, basically body slam their game into the ground, yeah, sorry, you didn't make a good product here. Better luck next time.
Mm-hmm. Like,
Yeah.
I can kind of see where they wanted to go with it, though. It's just, it had, very poor implementation on all fronts.
Right. I'm honestly trying to figure out a level in which this game succeeds, and I can't think of one.
Well, honestly, if the controls weren't so clunky, they could at least make the stealth sections interesting, but the combat, it probably would have been better if they made this a stealth game. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I suppose, but at the best of times, this game reaches the level of dead average.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess for the record, I'll note that nobody got too far into this game, but here's the thing: we don't waste a lot of time on bad games.
Well, and there's also a problem with a save system that needs to be mentioned.
Yeah, I'm like, so that's the other thing, because I played the first part of this game about 3-4 times. Part of that was to test the save system. It's something I do for these things, and yeah, this game wasn't saving any progress at all. Like, it kept ditching me to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And this game is too fucking terrible for long play sessions.
Yeah, and
I wasn't
it
sure
keeps
about that
saying
because
it was
like
saving during the game, but I don't know what it did with the saves.
Well, there's also there's a like a demo thing that it started doing when I was starting to play, but it seemed to just put me into the game, and I'm wondering if the difference between that is something that was wrong with the saves, but
I don't know. Like, or maybe we didn't get out of the demo, but there shouldn't have been a demo.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have been the demo version in the first place, or
Especially because I got to where I was like an hour in. You know, if you have to be more than an hour in to be able to save your progress, that's a problem.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it it was quite vexing, and I don't know what's going on here, but it's bad. It's really
Mhm.
bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, so I suppose we should, getting past the shitty save system, or rather the non-existent save system. This game is actually, it's trying to be a couple games. Um, from all the like the marketing materials that you see, it looks like a survival horror game.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's definitely partially true. But here's the thing: those are, at least in the beginning, presented as dreams, delusions, what have you, or some kind of mindfuckery. Your actual job is some sort of assassin who must go through endless fucking corridors to engage in some of the worst combat I've experienced in quite some time.
Yeah.
Like, like, it's and just getting into the tonal shift, because we go from fucking Resident Evil, The Evil Within, something like that, to Max Payne,
Mm-hmm.
complete with bullet time,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess quasi bullet time, because you don't dive through the air or anything like that, but you do slow down time. Like
Mm-hmm.
you've got mental powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, you'll be using the time slow a lot, because otherwise, good luck hitting somebody, because moving your gun around feels like you are heavily drunk.
Well, it's like fucking
yeah,
trying
there's
to
some
move the
mouse sensitivity
flashlight
issues with this.
around is a chore in the stealth sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some issues with mouse sensitivity and stuff, and keyboard or controller sensitivity.
Yeah. I mean, the controls weren't so much of an issue in the survival horror parts, because I didn't have to deal with shitty gunplay.
Yeah. Well,
That's
and
true.
if they would have went with that angle, they could have, claimed they were harkening back to stuff like, the old Resident Evil.
Maybe, or if it were something like Outlast,
Mm-hmm.
or any
Mm-hmm.
number of indie horror games, this game would have been passable. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It's like its biggest problems in that were a complete lack of any interesting new ideas or
Mm-hmm.
scary moments, or like,
Yeah.
seriously, guys, what was up with the monster designs here?
I don't know. I found it pretty scary when one of the monsters lurched into view, and then like the sound kept going, and then like it dropped a bunch of frames, and then like flashed through the entire cutscene in like 3 or 4 frames.
Yeah.
I mean, these gray mannequins are there. Like they're not particularly scary. They're not particularly intimidating. They don't look freakish. Yeah, even the jump scares are kind of lame.
Like, I mean, the first time they popped up, it was kind of unsettling because I didn't know what the hell these things were, but they kept using them over and over and over again.
Yeah, and looking at future parts of the game, they show up more. Like, just like, they're not scary, and the setting for at least the first survival horror segment was an abandoned prison. It's like, I'll be honest. It wasn't all that scary. Like,
I was kind of disappointed when I found a key that said it was the master key to all of the cells, and then it didn't let me open any cells aside from the one I was in.
you can. I recall being able to open like all of the top.
Yeah,
Or-
you can, because there are secret passages that you have to have already gone through to get between the ones on the level you start on, but it let you get out of that cell block by opening any of those doors from inside, but you couldn't like go into the ones on the other floors.
Mostly, we're dealing with a problem that plagues a lot of indie horror, and that's a lot of bland locations being passed off as scary locations.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I can definitely understand, an abandoned prison. Yeah, that seems like a scary setting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no fear entered my mind while I was playing that, and then you switch to a bright office building. That's the Max Payne part.
Yeah.
Like, you're it's completely fucking different. It's like you're stealthing, you're you know fighting guards. The office is pretty bland as well. It's well lit. Like, I'm sure the two interconnect, but nobody here cared enough to endure the shitty mechanics.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm biased against the genre too, because neither bullet time shooters nor survival horror are really my thing, but even in those, I have played better games.
Mm-hmm.
I was all for the survival horror part, but then you get to the whole Max Payne bit, and it's just boring.
Mm-hmm.
No way to describe it.
It's dull. It's sluggish. It's badly implemented. There are many ways to describe this, and it's all negative.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But outside of how bland everything is how fucking ugly this game looks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, oh Jesus, the aliasing.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I don't think I've seen this many jaggies since the PlayStation 2 era. I guess the environment and the actual models look decent-ish in parts, although
Mm-hmm.
in some other parts, I thought the protagonist's hair was made out of fuzzy felt.
Same.
Like, it's kind of like it kind of looks bad in places.
No, you see, that was clearly an intentional artistic decision designed to capture the true existential horror of being a person whose hair is like fuzzy felt.
Indeed. Oh, let's see what else. The music. I'll be honest, I can't remember any of the music.
Are we gonna
Neither
touch
can
on
I.
the voice acting? Cause oh my god, that fucking voice acting.
I'm a bit hesitant because you can tell that the voice actor isn't a native English speaker.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah.
Like, sounds like somewhere from Eastern Europe.
Right.
And really, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, music and sounds. I'm having trouble recalling any of it.
The music to me just sounded kind of generic.
That's my point. Like everything else about this game, it's generic at best.
Yeah.
It's gonna mix. It's gonna mix with any other music you have in your mind, pretty much.
Yeah.
You won't remember it.
Getting back to the survival horror things, of course, it has puzzles, and they're pretty typical survival horror puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe not, at least from what I played, maybe they didn't get downright goofy like, say, Resident Evil tended to do.
I think,
Like-
well, I was gonna say, generic, but not like generic. Like a lot of survival horror puzzles kind of have some weird charm to them, and this mostly didn't.
Nope. It was pretty straightforward, actually. Like,
Yeah.
there was also a what I like to call an outlast sequence where you're hiding from one of the gray mannequins, and that was honestly one of the probably the best part of the game.
Where you have to go get the key?
Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna imagine I probably do that mechanic, a little more. But
Probably.
that would involve us going back to the survival horror section, which in
Yeah,
turn
it's like-
involves us doing the Max Payne section.
Yes. Like, well, and like I imagine that they had more planned with the other power, and that's the telekinesis, or
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm.
you get a demo of that in the first survival horror portion,
Yeah.
and in the Max Payne section, it's fucking useless because that's all about killing people.
I think the trailer had one section where you're using that power to disable a security camera,
Sounds about right.
but apparently later on in the same trailer, you just kind of could pull a gun on it and do the same damn
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah. Like, trying to think. Let's see. Price.
Oh God.
Yeah, this game is clocking in at $30. This is not worth $3.
I'd give it
No.
10.
Even that's being generous, but
Yeah.
$30? Like,
None of us really got far enough to know like how long, and how much content there is in this, but there's a reason for that, which is that the content we saw didn't like make it seem worth playing more.
Yeah. Like, it looks
Yeah.
like they put most of their time and effort in this story, but the gameplay itself suffered and doesn't make me want to
Mhm.
continue with the story.
Story is not the worst thing. It's just not the best thing either, and $30 is a lot for a game on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm like, oh, and not to mention that you at least the state we played in, you pretty much have to play it in one go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it'll save checkpoints and shit, but if you want to exit out of the game, no. Like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, and once again, to stem off the people who might complain that we didn't play through the game, I'm like, we're not. If the game's terrible enough to turn us off this much, it's not worth playing through and prolonging the agony.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not like GameSpot or anything like that. We don't get paid to review these.
Right. Or we're not dedicated enough to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We do
We-
keep that in mind.
We
But-
also have a lot of reviews going at once.
Well, it's also I do not agree with the philosophy that you need to have played the entire game to be able to properly review that. There's a lot of cases where that's just not feasible.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. A shitty game that gets less shitty as you go on is still a shitty game.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have
Mhm.
the time and energy to fully play through every game we get, but I mean, even aside from visual novels, this game would have been really hard to get very far in because my computer was not super fond of running it.
Look, I gave it the old college try here, but between the shitacular design and mechanics and graphical glitches and the broken save system, that's the one that really did it for me.
Yeah, like if
Like-
we could, if
Yeah.
the save system worked, and we could have a day to at least get it out of our mind a bit and maybe come back later. That wouldn't be as bad if we didn't have to go through possibly 2 or more hours just to maybe be able to save.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our verdict on this game. Like, yeah, thumbs down. Totally not worth it. 2 out of 10. Whatever fucking rating system you want to use. This is one of the worst games of the year, from our perspective.
And it's only March.
Like, anyway, so be sure to tune in after the break. Up next, Fear Effect Sedna, and following that, a game called WireNet. Till then, wish you good gaming and all that jazz.